Hello and welcome to another Stukent Expert Session. My name is Trevor Erickson and today we have Matt Prohaska, who is the CEO of Prohaska Consulting, with us. Prohaska Consulting is a digital media advertising firm specializing in programmatic advertising. We're in for a treat today. Let's let Matt take it over and learn all about the cool technology behind programmatic advertising.
Thanks, Trevor. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you and all of you at Stukent about this exciting new opportunity in digital advertising and marketing. My name is Matt Prohaska. I'll tell you a little bit about our organization in just a minute, but this is a programmatic primer, an introduction to the world of advertising technology. To give you a little bit of a sense of who we are, just for street cred purposes, hopefully to justify our earning your time here and attention today, wanted to give a little bit about our organization. I'm the proud CEO and principal of a team of more than 90 people around the world in more than 25 cities. We've helped more than 170 companies as of early 2017 over the last few years, solving digital complexity. Programmatic is about 75 to 80% of what we do. We work across all media channels, and these are some of the sexy logos of the proud clients that we've been able to help. We help all sides of the transaction, if you will, from publishers who sell advertising to buyers or advertisers and their agencies who handle media placement, to the technology companies that sit in between, and then other groups such as trade groups and investors. Before we get started, we assume if this is a primer and you're tuning in and learning about this either for the first time or have worked on the tangents of the ad tech industry or are relatively new, you may have read a lot about this and had the feeling of folks that are on the right. This, of course, from the great series Mad Men. We draw some analogies because this actually depicts how a lot of people feel about the ad tech industry when they first get started. This is from the scene in series where the agency gets their first computer that you see on the left, that giant tan and blue mainframe. Those of you old enough like I am to remember back in the day when it took up almost an entire room. The folks on the right are the creative department at the ad agency, set in the late 60s, early 70s, and they're a little concerned, a little upset, a little ticked off, a little who moved my cheese for a couple reasons. One, because they are the creative brain trust, and they thought that this agency was about ideas, and what is this about media departments and machines kind of taking over what humans have been doing for a while. They're also upset because that's the computer took up the entire room where they used to actually smoke pot and come up with those ideas. So they're a little displaced. We won't tell you what happened to the guy on the right in case you're going to binge watch someday, but he goes a little sideways, and our goal is that by the end of this, or certainly any other material, you're far from feeling like these folks and much more positive about it. Let's get into some of the why as to why ad tech and programmatic advertising has become so important. And when we say important, we're talking about more than 70% of digital ad spend in the United States, North America overall, and Western Europe is being conducted this way. And we'll explain what it is in a second, but we wanted to explain kind of the motivations here as to why. It all boils down to efficiency, and a lot of times buyers get excited about efficiency because they think of lower prices for media. But in actuality, it used to be more about that. Now it's much more about the targeting of the inventory and the speed of the transaction, along with the quality of both the ads that are being placed, excuse me, and as well as the quality of the media environments and the publishers, the websites, if you will, or the television networks or the radio stations or the out-of-home billboards, where those ads are being placed. So there's equal focus and a nice benefit for both buyers and sellers today, eliminating all kinds of waste. Yes, there's still plenty of inexpensive inventory out there, but in the eye of the publisher, it's often much better than getting nothing for any unsold inventory. Turning now to defining it, and here is the official definition from our friends at the Interactive Advertising Bureau, or IAB. The history of the phrase is from a smart gentleman who wrote about it in an article about 6-7 years ago. It's a mashup of using computer programs or algorithms to be able to buy and sell media more automatically. So those of you who have worked in advertising are familiar with the insertion order or the contract. That is the IO that authorizes certain rates and after negotiations have taken place between buyer and seller, a lot of that now has been turned into software to be able to, again, speed up the transaction. A lot of people often confuse programmatic advertising for one of its transaction types, and that would be known as real-time bidding, or RTB. And that's understandable, since given the history of this entire method of buying is only about 7 to 8 years old. There are actually the first 5 to 6 years of it, real-time bidding was the only type of transaction. We'll explain how the industry has grown and developed since then. But here we show more than a dozen steps of how a bill becomes a law, if you will, and what happens from a consumer perspective. You can take a look at this in real time in a video if you were to just do a search of 200 milliseconds on YouTube, and you can understand through the eyes of a consumer, through the eyes of you and I, a reader of a web page or the listener of a station, how everything takes place. It all has to do with addressability and being able to make decisions in real time, to be able to make sure, again, that the right ad gets in front of the right person at the right time. So let's break that down a little bit better here. Here's another visual that depicts, if you will, the plumbing. Often there are plenty of analogies used. We'll use a couple of them to try and bring the abstract, or things that happen in the ether, into more tangible items that we have seen and worked with before. Here's one around plumbing that shows pipes being connected where data and pricing and dollars flow. You see on the left-hand side, you have the typical buyer the advertiser that works with an ad agency and traditionally serves ads and works with publishers directly on the right-hand side with their sales team, and any unsold inventory historically had gone off to an ad network. Everything within the yellow piping here is the relatively new phenomenon over the last 8 years, where you have different, and we'll break each of these down, but you have platforms for both sellers on the supply side platform, or SSP, and on the buy side for the demand side platform, or DSP, being able to send instructions back and forth and trade, if you will, within an exchange. And we'll talk about what trading desks and all of these different data layers are over the top as we go forward. The trading desk is where the first human beings get started in actually carrying out programmatic advertising. Trading desks sounds like a type of software, but it's really just a group of people that work typically as a sister company or part of a large ad agency, and carry out these transactions and input the instructions, if you will, and set up the buys in their demand-side platform in the software that they are using. Here's a list of the top 6 holding companies globally, some ad agencies that if you've worked in traditional advertising, you might be familiar with some of these names, and then the ones on the right might be a little bit more unique and new to you if you're not working with them directly, or you may have read about them. These are the corresponding trade desks that work with the various agencies. You'll see we have a little emoticon wink around saying this is as of today, and you'll see a couple of arrows on the second and third lines here from Viveki and Acuant, because this is a very fluid and dynamic environment where a lot of agency trade desks that were set up separately originally are now being integrated back into the traditional agency practice to create more efficiency as well for the overall agency and for their clients, the advertisers, so that you're having a combination of skills, more traditional buying and planning combined with programmatic, just starting to be done across the board by the same team. Turning now to the demand-side platforms, or DSPs. Here's a bit of an overview on how they help the ecosystem. There are 2 types typically, either self-service or managed service. So self-service would be an example where software is purchased by the agency or their trading desk, and they pay a licensing fee or a monthly fee on usage, and it's their own team that actually have hands on keyboard, as we say, and set up the campaigns themselves. Managed service platforms, on the other hand, are where an agency will send insertion orders or contracts and authorization over to the demand-side platform, and they will actually handle the buy themselves. If you're looking for a trend, the trend would be moving from managed service to self-service. As more people get coached up on being able to do these buys themselves, Many more folks are handling self-service platforms, and a lot of companies, some that we've actually helped directly, have changed their business models and have migrated from being more managed service to self-service, allowing for easier pricing, transparency, and just charging for the actual software itself. The ad networks that used to traditionally provide a lot of the value that programmatic buying and selling is taking place, and being able to match thousands of publishers to one advertiser with just one contract, a lot of that is now being done by the demand-side platforms themselves and accessing all this inventory on the exchanges. And so the ad network has certainly evolved, and new companies have taken shape here, such as Rocket Fuel and Criteo, Xaxis, and others. The difference is that if we were to go back and take a look at the 12 steps here, and you see how an impression is actually served, one unique thing about these ad networks is that instead of buying just on behalf of one advertiser, say Unilever or Procter & Gamble, these ad networks or large trading desk conglomerates will bid on behalf of many advertisers, bid on behalf of themselves, and then usually right around here in stage 7 or 8, after they've won that impression in an auction, they will then go ahead and determine which of their clients would receive that ad, partially what's best for the client and what's best for them. So that's the new form of arbitraging, where very, very sophisticated companies with multiple layers of data to be able to understand the history of who that person is that is available to be bid on and serve an ad can be done a lot smarter than even just a few years ago. And a lot of companies have become, if you will, almost a holding company on their own. MediaMath, one of the granddaddies of programmatic buying, has actually spun off 4 different companies, and that they now are the parent of, where these companies use their platform and then just charge media fees instead of bundling media and software together. Turning now to another critical piece of the ad tech stack for both buyers and sellers, and that would be the data management platform, or DMP. Here are some of the features and what a DMP does. We've listed out below some of the examples of the leading companies. There are several others, but I just wanted to highlight those that have been in front over the last 6 to 8 years or so, mostly focused in the United States. There are plenty of local leaders as well regionally in Europe, in APAC, as well as LATAM, but these are the 5 companies that have dominated the space, gotten early traction, and now have spread their roots globally as well. But a data management platform basically collects data from either the advertiser or the publisher, is able to segment and create some models so that there is more scale and more of an audience available. If you're looking, not everyone is looking to buy a car on a Wednesday afternoon, but you can take a look at everyone who has looked at a car over a period of time. You can also find other data around people that are showing, maybe not going onto a car site themselves, but showing other behaviors or history around their usage and what they've maybe even done offline in the physical world that could indicate, hey, this is someone that we might want to be able to reach through digital advertising. So all of these different signals, if you will, get collected into the data management platform, and they're collected in 3 different types, first, second, or third party. First-party data refers to the actual owned audience that an advertiser has. If someone goes to bestbuy.com, then that person is first party to Best Buy. If someone goes to the Wall Street Journal's website, then that person is first party to Wall Street Journal. Third-party advertising is also relatively easy to understand. You're collecting audiences from many different sources and being able to buy that segment uniquely and attach that to media. So I'm looking to place ads within news and sports sites, but only if they also meet this criteria from this rolled-up group of, let's say, 500,000 unique people that I've acquired and purchased through third-party segmentation. The largest trend we're seeing that's just starting to take off, that is relatively new over the last 18 months or so, is the role of second-party data, actually, where you would actually trade between 2 different parties directly, knowing knowing exactly who the original other source is. So an easy example that we give all the time is a travel site and a dating site partnering, because we know that when someone tags and changes their status on a dating site to being engaged or being married, there's a good chance that there's going to be a travel moment coming up for that happy couple sometime soon. So being able to trade that data non-competitively means that, again, we can just be smarter with how our ads are being placed. Here's another visual of how that data management platform works and is played out in terms of being able to collect, again, not just behavioral data, but tying it into a customer relationship management database, using it for research, and then applying that with good analytics to ongoing campaigns, or ultimately serving it to better content, email programs, all kinds of different marketing tools that the advertiser has. Another use of the DMP for publishers would be what we call an audience extension. So here's an example again of where, let's say, a publisher has 100,000 people that go to the auto section. That's very valuable to try and advertise to them right away, but that's not everybody over the course of, let's say, the last 3 months that have looked at automotive. One way of being able to reach them again is to use the DMP, find those 100,000 people, collect them, and then reach them again across that same publisher's website. We call that behavioral targeting, or an on-site audience extension. The relatively new phenomenon is doing a network audience extension and being able to find those people anywhere online based on the great audience data that's already been served up. And then a publisher can actually help provide that additional reach for advertisers by having their own trading desk and being able to secure and find those people off their site and bid on them on behalf of the advertiser. So a great way to be able to control reach and frequency so that users and consumers are not hit with the same number of ads 1,000 times. We've all been there before, probably, where we've received the same ad maybe a few too many times. When different entities are excited and know that we are in market, sometimes there's a bit of a free-for-all there, so it can be controlled a lot more effectively through a publisher trading desk. You can control cookie pools, which are the unique identifiers, and knowing exactly how many folks you're looking to reach there. You can use self-service or managed service for this as well, and it's a way to be able to control a publisher's entire inventory, not just what they're receiving from paid ads, but also in-house marketing campaigns, content, and anything else, to be able to do true yield management and understand the value of each of their audience members as they come in and out of their different properties. The rest of the tech stack goes like this. It usually starts with an ad server where there has been very little change overall to its functionality, but it is very, very critical to setting up the prioritization and the order in which ads are served through either a private marketplace that we'll explain in a minute, or through real-time bidding and an open auction. There have been advances in being able to basically have advertisers leapfrog prioritization and try to get as early a look as possible and do something called header bidding or server-to-server bidding as well, where there's direct integration with the publisher and allowing either one advertiser or an entity that represents hundreds of advertisers potentially to be able to, again, say, here is who I know is on my page right now, who would like to talk to them, and opening that up to as much competition as possible, driving higher yield for that publisher. The exchange itself is where the buying and selling takes place. It historically was used to handle what we try not to call it too much anymore, basically unsold inventory, or what used to be known as remnant inventory. We just think that has a negative connotation. It's really just the same great inventory, just unsold in that one particular millisecond. And here's a different a way that these marketplaces have been set up. There are two broad types, open and private. So an open auction, we use a retail store analogy. Imagine that an ad, or an image, a 300 by 250 ad would be a piece of clothing on your website or on your phone. Imagine on the left a bit of a free-for-all, an open auction, where sometimes you don't know the name of the store that you're going into. You just know there are some great deals to be had there, and that's been going on for quite a while. No real salesperson involved there. Juxtapose that to the right, where you know the name of the store, the items of clothing are folded, they're labeled properly, they're described well, you know the quality walking in, you have a salesperson saying, "Hi, may I help you? What are you looking for today?" Notice there are fewer customers in the private than the open, because there have been still so many great deals in the open auction today, but the trend is to move people from open to private more and more. And we're seeing about 30% transactions taking place in the private marketplace these days versus open. That used to be only about 10% just a couple of years ago. So in deciding who to work with, whether you're a buyer or a seller, there are a number of different factors that go into that. Here are some just to emphasize this, not just the commercial terms involved, but how well that product has flexibility to go across different media channels, how easy it is to use, and despite the fact that there's a perception of a lot of technology being used today, client service is still pretty important, with humans helping humans getting things done. Here's an example of the TV landscape. So this is the ecosystem of linear television or addressable TV, where you have some unique DSPs and SSPs that cater to this audience in particular, and then you have others such as TubeMogul, who got their start in digital video, who have now stretched into linear television as well. You can see a number of a number of different services and providers that sit between the advertiser and their audience. One other way to keep in touch, I know we're wrapping up here on time, and the beauty of or the craziness of this industry is that you could probably spend 9 hours a day doing nothing but reading about programmatic advertising. We've given 5 examples here of sites that you can go to. Real-Time Daily is a service by MediaPost at mediapost.com. The rest are off their straight URLs and all free email newsletters to be able to keep in touch with what's happening and all the changes happening with each of the different companies globally, with new features and services and new mergers and acquisitions, which is certainly quite active these days here in 2017. And so just a reminder as we wrap up that as we might remember from The Matrix, when Neo was learning kung fu and suddenly figured it out in 8 seconds after getting a mind drain, and then he's in the dojo just kicking butt. We know that that is not likely here, but hopefully we've given you guys a little bit of a slice of what this industry is like and the exciting changes and benefits that are taking place for both advertisers, sellers, and ultimately the consumers that we all serve. With that, I say thank you. Our contact info, that's 917-597-6568. Apologies for that. But the info for our team and our company, you can find more at ProhaskaConsulting.com and all the different services of how our team can help you. And with that, we say thank you very much.